You know, before I became a Christian, I was living just for myself and living for today. I was out partying and, you know, experiencing drugs and alcohol. I call it synthetic joy because in the morning it was gone. And the next day I was just trying to reach out for that next little bit of joy, but it was all fake.
You had a really radical transformation, but it explains why people can look at you like you have two heads when you say that you're a Christian. Is there really some deeper stuff under that huff and puff? Sho Baraka gets it.
So I had a brother and a father who became Christians around that time, and so a lot of just growing up happened not only for them but like for me, and so things that were acceptable at one point in time kind of, you know, weren't acceptable for me to do. So they would, you know, challenge me on a lot of lifestyle decisions I was making. And I had no desire to live the life that they were living. But I knew there was something wrong with me because I would do things and I wouldn't be happy the next day. I just felt like this, obviously now it's the conviction of the Lord, but I would feel these burdens about, you know, drugs or about sex or about just anger and fights and wrath, and even some of the stuff I was writing about back then. And so they would just share with me, and I saw their lifestyle, which was really, I mean, to say now, like impressive. Before it was kind of like, why are they doing this stuff? Like, I can't stand them. But to see that life, like their life transition. I mean, imagine like you are living with people, you've seen their failures, like you've seen them live wretched lives, and now for them to turn away from that lifestyle and to serve the Lord was something beautiful before my eyes, even though at the time I didn't really quite admit it or even understand what was really happening. And so I knew that I had to make some tough decisions because the group I was a part of, one, we communicated things that weren't really great, but then two, it was just like I was at a transition in my life where I either had to go to college or continue to chase this music dream. And I decided to, the group name was, we had two names. The first was called Today's Age, which I'm ashamed to say because it sounds like a boy band. But we tried to change it to Poet Society before we broke up. But they tried to market us because we were young, and they made us lie about our age.
You were signed?
Well, we were signed to a management, but we were meeting with labels, and we got to travel with like people like Missy. Yeah, I got to meet some big time people. Yeah, and so because our management worked for like a lot of big time artists, and so we were able to have connection and touches with these people, and so they wanted to market us as kind of like a young hip hop boy group, hip hop band kind of thing, and so it didn't quite work out because I was like, man, I have to do something with my life. And so my father and my brother urged me to go to college, and so I applied to go to college, ended up going to school in Alabama, so I left California because it was like Egypt for me. About 2 years after I left high school, I was in college, and I would spend summers with my brother, who was a Christian, as I communicated. And he lived in Texas, so I would go to Texas and spend a summer with him, or Christmas breaks, or whenever I couldn't do what I really wanted to do, like I had to go. Like it was almost like punishment. I had to go spend time with him. And the beautiful thing of the relationship was I always admired him because he was just he's my older brother. He's great in almost everything he tries to do. So it was like, man, I admired him. So even in his faith, I kind of admired that. And so he had me involved in ministry things that he was doing. Like he would have me come with him to Bible studies. He would have me a part of these discipleship groups. But the beautiful thing about those meetings and those Bible study groups were that it wasn't what I presumed Christianity to be. Like I always thought, like when I went to church, it was stale. It was like it was always older people, and I was just like, what are y'all doing? You're wasting my time. But then I was around these young men and women who dressed like me, looked like me. They didn't act like me. They carried themselves in a godly manner. But I saw that God wasn't as much concerned with my outer appearance as much as he was with my inner man. And so that kind of impressed me. So I would actually engage myself in some of these activities and actually enjoy it. When I went back to college, I ended up going to a Bible study. The second summer, my second summer in college, I ended up starting to go faithfully to this Bible study. And they invited me to come to a conference, which is real big in Atlanta. And I ended up committing to go to the conference. When I went to the conference, the first day, there was a sermon talk about the Passion of Christ. And that was the moment where I said, you know what? I really recognized that I had something to do with putting Jesus on the cross. Like, my sins are responsible for his crucifixion. And I was like, man, I can either get up and continue to act like I know how to live this life apart from God, or I can surrender my life unto him. And at that day, I was like, man, I don't want to live like this anymore. And so at that moment, I surrendered my life unto the Lord.